Today in Flex in the City, we talk to Campbell Fleming, a legend in the financial services industry. He's also the CEO of AssetCo, PLC, and chairman of the Big Exchange. All that happening right now in Flex and the City.
Hello, everybody. This is Rachel Treese for Flex in the City, all about great leadership in the financial services industry. And I'm thrilled to have an Australian representative, somebody who I know very well, Sir Campbell Fleming, who is the Chief Executive Officer of AssetCo and the Chairman and Director of the Big Exchange. Thank you, Cam, for joining us.
Absolute pleasure, Rachel. Thank you for that lovely introduction. And it's a great privilege to be on this podcast with you.
You're very, very welcome. So I know you well, but I probably don't know exactly your whole career history, where you started. I do remember that you're a barrister. So would you be able to explain to me and the listeners a little bit about your journey?
Sure. Started on the wrong side of the tracks in New South Wales in Australia. A very humble and simple upbringing. I was the first member of the extended family to basically get professional qualifications. I tried bricklaying with my uncle for a little while and decided that being a lawyer might be a little bit easier. So I did that. I qualified through the Attorney General's Department, did a fair bit of work with the Australian Securities Commission and the like. Met my wife. This is 1993. She's English. I moved to London in 1995. Ended up working at Fleming's, no connection there. In Robert Fleming Asset Management, was there when we merged with Chase and JP Morgan, spent a little while, almost 15 years there, 14 or about, went to Columbia Threadneedle, where I ended up being the CEO. Then I joined Aberdeen, spent almost 5 years at Aberdeen, then Standard Life Aberdeen, and now joined Martin Gilbert at AssetCo, where he's the chairman and I'm the CEO with some former colleagues.
Fantastic. And remind me, there was a story, if I recall, about how you ended up joining Fleming's back in the day, because you were at the regulator, weren't you? So tell us a little bit about that story.
Oh, that's gone into industry legend, but don't believe everything you hear. But I met the Fleming Group and several of the senior directors, and during the series of meetings with them, they said I was basically offered a job to help them, on the risk, regulatory and legal front. And from there, I stepped into management and spent some time in Luxembourg, where I had the great pleasure of meeting you, Rach, and several other our friends and former colleagues.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit more.
A long time ago, by the way.
It was a long time ago.
And you aged a lot better than I have. In fact, you don't look any different to when I first met you.
Oh, thank you. Flattery will get you everywhere, Campbell. So first of all, tell me a little bit more about AssetCo. So what are you and Martin doing with AssetCo?
We're an AIM-listed company. We're sort of 150 million in market cap. We're basically trying to build tomorrow's asset and wealth management company today. So we're acquiring and growing businesses that we feel are going to be well placed to deal with the enormous amount of opportunity that's out there, but also the several big threats that are facing the industry. So public assets to private assets, specific to thematic, and ensuring that you've got a very relevant, cost-effective, and client-facing and purpose-driven company.
Yeah. So what's the big difference? You talked about tomorrow's asset management company today. How would you describe the big difference, Campbell?
I think the big difference is AssetCo is not constrained by legacy in almost any front. So we've almost got a blank sheet of paper. Mm-hmm. So AssetCo is going to be a very thin holding company. Underneath it, it'll have three core capabilities: active, high conviction equities, some private market strategies, and also thematic ETFs. And within that triangulation of capabilities and that strong focus, that accounts for somewhere between 2/3 and 3/4 of expected industry flows and revenues over the next 5 to 10 years.
Wow, exciting stuff. And so, as well as AssetCo, tell us about the Big Exchange, because I know you're the chairman of the Big Exchange, and I think that's fascinating. So tell us a bit more about that. Campbell?
Yeah, the Big Exchange is an industry initiative that several of us founded. It's got about 18 asset management companies, small to large, supporting it. And we think we launched, certainly in Europe, the first ever impact platform where people, private investors, retail investors can go on and they can find funds that are independently rated for their impact on people, the planet, or both, on the basis of a gold, silver, or bronze rating, and also put into bundles. So we're, nearing 5,000 customers. We'd like to grow a little bit faster, but it is what it is at the moment. There's a fair bit going on in markets and economies. So we're encouraged by the fact that 2/3 of our investors are people who've invested previously. And what they said is they wanted to invest with impact, but they didn't know where to go to and how. And the other third are first-time investors. And over more than half of them are females, which is quite important as well, because we're quite encouraged to make sure that we've got a very diverse and inclusive offering.
So it sounds like it's diverse, inclusive, sustainable, and targeted perhaps at people that might have been a little confused about the industry historically.
Yeah, we decided to try the simple and elegant route. We tried to do an uber functional, very clear, very simple proposition, takes people on quite a simple journey and tries to speak to them in a way that doesn't befuddle, confuse, or in any way frighten them.
Absolutely. So talk. I mean, the Big Exchange and AssetCo both seem like big game changers. Is there anything else that you think would be a game changer and would make this industry better and more sustainable?
Look, I think it's doing pretty well in the circumstances. We've had a tough couple of decades, but the one thing that would really change, I think, is if someone said to me many years ago, it was the marketing director of Vodafone. He said to me, Campbell, the problem with your industry is the exact opposite of mine. In my industry, I've got things that everyone wants, but they don't really need. And you've got the reverse, i.e., they need financial services and good financial services, but then they don't really understand why they want it. And I think the game changer will come when we start all communicating and engaging with clients in a way to make sure they understand that they need us, and so therefore they want what we offer. And of course, the next step is if people want what you offer, you've got to make sure that it's relevant, effective, simple, cheap, and compliant. So
how does the industry do that as a whole? Easy stuff.
Yeah. Well, I think, look, there's lots of great initiatives going on. The industry still tries to measure everything and explain it in scientific and numerical ways, when perhaps we need to think in ways that might resonate on a more of a spiritual or more of a values perspective. Clearly the industry doing a lot around ESG because obviously that's what people want, what they should want, and what's good for people and the planet. And then last, thematic investing is quite interesting to us because we think maybe for the first time people are thinking about an investment in the context of how it's described, or they understand it, as opposed to be saying, oh, here is a MSCI Global 250 ETF. What does that mean to your kids? What does that mean to your parents, your aunt, and things? So finally, by saying, it's a clean water fund, or it's a sustainable equities, or, income fund, people are starting to get a clue about what they're actually buying, which I think is quite important.
So Northern English / Australian language is what we need. Something like that.
Something like that.
Something like that.
Keep it simple.
Keep it simple. Absolutely. So
the other thing, Rachel, the other thing where I really believe in is that I think humans are fundamentally smart. And if you can provide them with information in a way that they can process it quickly, they will. And look at our children, how they've embraced digital, look how the way they've embraced technology, but more importantly, look how they've taught us. So, if we could deal with complicated products and devices like that, then why can't we do it in financial services?
Absolutely. So talking about children, you have 3 boys.
3 boys.
Joe, Sam, and Maggie.
2 of them are men now.
I know they are, absolutely. So I'm curious, do you think any of them will have any interest in joining the financial services industry?
Well, I hope so. But I'd love them to make their own choices. We've taught them to be, I hope, very well mannered, very engaged, and hardworking people. So they'll make their own choices, I hope. But one of them's in Spain at the moment, working in marketing. He's doing a Spanish and business degree. Another guy is the middle boy's somewhere in the Far East, having a gap year before he starts law at Bristol. And the little fellow, he's not so little either. He's the art scholar at a school here in London. So all very different boys. And if they end up in financial services, great, but there's no pressure for them to do so.
No, but what do you think we need to be doing to attract talent to the industry? I had somebody who had a first-class honours degree in economics, and I said, well, you should be thinking about joining the industry. He said, oh, no, boring. So what can we do to make it a little more exciting, interesting, purposeful?
Yeah, it's a great question. I stayed in the industry from the law because I was quite drawn to what it does. I think it's quite an honourable and important thing, given the privilege of looking after people's hard-earned or institutions' hard-earned capital and wealth, and trying to do a better job and grow it for them, I think is a pretty profoundly important and good thing to be doing, especially growing up with very little wealth and very little opportunity. Then, I'm really into being enlightened capitalism, and, wealth can get people out of grinding poverty and change lives and change communities. So that's why I was drawn to it. I'm not sure we enthuse about it enough. I'm not sure that we promote the good aspects of it. It's hugely focused on clients and end clients, in my opinion. There's a lot of disciplines in the industry, whether from marketing to sales through to fund management, but everything else that makes it happen. And it's a fascinating and attractive industry where you can work with brilliant people for a good cause and do well and enjoy yourself. So I'm not sure we enthuse about it enough.
Yeah,
That's a models.
We need to put a little bit of excitement and enthusiasm back in the industry. Absolutely. So you come from down under. You've had a lot of your career in the United Kingdom and in Europe. So is there a difference between Australian leadership style and British leadership style?
Sometimes. There you go. I'll be a little bit British using the language. There's a little bit of the difference. I suppose what you see, sort of what you get. From my perspective, sort of quite keen to sort of just keep it simple, cut the nonsense, and get to the issue and try and sort it out. It's one of the reasons why I enjoy working with Martin, because he's always challenging you and always trying to make you do better. And just wants to deal with the big issues and sort things out well and quickly. I'm not saying Brits don't do that, but it's sometimes it's a little more mannered, and it's a little bit more potentially convoluted conversation. And it was funny working in Luxembourg in early 2000, where I think we had 27 nationalities at Fleming's. And it was very funny watching the stereotypes operate there. But yeah, look, at the end of the day, Aussies torture the English language, and Brits use it properly. So there's obviously a little bit of difference.
Yeah, and what do you think are the 2 leadership traits, Campbell, that have brought you your own success?
probably a little too honest with people. I sometimes just call it as I see it, and perhaps I could be a little bit more thoughtful about some of those things. But I think most people would say, look, Campbell can be pretty tough, but at the end of the day, he's very passionate about trying to get a good job done, very focused on clients, and would like to see people do that. So it's sort of the focus, and I sort of pride myself in not making sure that always trying to make sure that if I ask someone to do it, it'd be something that I'd be happy to do myself or have done myself. I think humility is quite important.
I'd agree. So how important is being human in financial services?
I think it's I think if you're going to lead, it's very important. You have to show all those aspects of leadership, and I know that some of the tough times that I've had, the internalized pressure about knowing that there are people out there looking at you and seeing how you scratch your hair or how you look today, and that being watched and being analysed for everything you do is quite can be quite stressful in those regards.
So what advice would you give young leaders who are up and coming in the industry? If you were to give some piece of wisdom, what would it be to them?
Look, it is about our customers and our clients. Secondly, it's about it's about your people and your team, and thirdly, it's trying to get that culture right between the balance between making sure people are focused, making sure they understand what they've got to do and how they've got to do it, and getting it done. So those three things of client focus through to working as and operating as teams are all super important.
So Campbell, you've worked in the industry for many years now. Has there been somebody that's been really inspiring in the industry or even outside of the industry in terms of their leadership style? Who would you like to acknowledge, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, I've met a lot of really great people, and I've had the benefit of working with and for and alongside lots of them. There's a terrific Martin's great because he's just so challenging and thinks outside the box and very keen about getting things done and maintaining that huge client focus obsession. I enjoyed working for Jamie Broderick for many years at JP Morgan. He also was very client focused and extremely methodical and disciplined in the way he operated. I had a terrific time working for Clive Brown, who was the global CEO of JPM and Campbell Fleming for a while. He was extremely challenging. Could burrow down into detail and things, and that was all good fun. I worked with an amazing lady called Sarah Arkle, who was probably one of the most gifted investors I'd met. So I've had this great privilege of working across several continents with all sorts of people, but it's been great fun. Always learning, always being challenged, and hopefully always trying to move forward.
And if there was a quality amongst all of them that you could identify, what would that quality be?
I think it was focus. Regardless of whether it was on detail, clients, strategy, or markets, I think it was their ability to really get focused on the issues at hand, the challenges in front of them, and the opportunities ahead. That's probably the one word that maybe very loosely connects them.
So, Campbell, I know outside of financial services, other than enjoying a good glass of wine with many people, including my husband, I know that you love sailing.
Yeah.
So, tell me a bit about sailing and what you get from that.
I'm a terrible skier, as you well know, and but so sailing's it's that in the moment thing where you're just concentrating on the boat, the wind, the sails, and keeping it in that groove. And in that time, your mind tends to clear of all those other things that get in the way, and you're just concentrating and enjoying that moment. It doesn't matter whether it's rainy, wet, hot, cold, windy, or still. It's you obviously need a bit of wind. It's that in the moment piece that's very exciting and very enjoyable.
So it's your meditation.
Yeah. Yeah, I read a little bit, and so.
Yeah, and what do you think the financial services industry could learn from the greatest sailors on our planet, either present or historical?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think probably two things is although everyone thinks the quickest route from A to B is a straight line in sailing, you don't often have that opportunity to be able to sail in a straight line. And secondly, just like the financial services industry, there's always things that sort of knock you off course, or to bring you back on course, and you're always dealing with different challenges that are both unexpected and also expected. So, making sure you're ship shape, you've got a decent crew, and you've got a bit of a game plan is all very important. But also understanding that you have to react and proact to threats and opportunities you do when you're sailing helps a little bit.
Absolutely. So my last question of the day: if you had a soapbox, if you like, and an opportunity to send a message to this great industry that we're all affiliated, what would be your message, your leadership message to this industry?
Maintain the rage around keeping focused on clients. I think that's really important. Let's not ever forget it's their money, and without them, we don't exist. That's the first thing. Second thing is never waste a good crisis or a good opportunity. Lead positively, I think, which is important. And lastly, I would say it's a good industry that does some very important things, and be proud of, sensibly proud about the fact that you work for a good industry with great people and have a greater purpose.
Great. Campbell Fleming, CEO of AssetCo, Antipodean, and are you British as well, or no?
I've never had the privilege of getting a British passport. I do have my residency, but my sons are Brits, my wife's a Brits, and so I suppose I'm an adopted one. But
adopted Brit.
Adopted Brit, but as most people know, I don't support the cricket or the rugby teams.
Oh, exactly. Thank you so much, Campbell, for being with us today on Flex and the City.
Thank you, Rachel, and good luck with you and you and the firm. I wish you every success, every continued success.
Thank you very much.
Love your work.
You just listened to Flex in the City. Catch us on our next episode.